Crvena Zvezda is no longer undefeated. In Belgrade's Eternal Derby, Partizan managed to end the defending champions' 20-game ABA League winning streak. Buducnost and Cedevita are hard on Partizan's heels in the fight for the second place with wins on the road. Megalex Karpos Sokoli and MZT grabbed important wins in the battle to avoid relegation. Stick around as we have a new list of top 5 players of the round waiting for you at the end of our show. Welcome to ABA Magazine. Former basketball player Ramis Naglic, winner of the silver medal at the Barcelona Olympics in 1992 with the Croatian national team, has taken up the post of Zadar's head coach after the departure of Neven Plantak. He signed a contract that will keep him with the team until the end of the season. As a coach, Naglic has worked with several clubs in Croatia, but his greatest success so far came in Slovakia, where he led Inter to the championship title. There are no undefeated teams left after 21 rounds in ABA League. Partizan was the first team that managed to beat Crvena Zvezda this season. In Belgrade's Eternal Derby, home team won 86-81 and kept a tight grip on the second place in the standings. With this win, Black and Whites became the second team that clinched a playoff spot. The game was decided from the distance as Partizan rode a hard hand of Vanja Marinkovic. In his first game back from injury, he went 4 for 7 from the three-point range for a total of 13 points. Sharp shooting home team's highest lead in the first half would be 7 points. Alongside three-point attempts, first period was marked by a large number of personal fouls committed by Partizan, which resulted in coach Dejan Radonjic's team taking 18 shots from the free throw line. That affected the rhythm of offense that was missing the sideline Nemanja Dangubic, along with Jovic still feeling under the weather and Kuzmic playing less minutes than usual. Crvena Zvezda, however, did manage to establish control on the offensive boards, which allowed it to tie the game at the halftime 46-46. Not much changed in the second half. Audience enjoyed an evenly fought game in which both teams gave every ounce of strength to take the lead. And as in every Eternal Derby, the tensions ran high and players often lost their cool. We saw 2 flagrant fouls and 1 technical for the home team, while the visiting team had as many as 6 technical fouls. After receiving 2 in a row in the third period, Marko Simonovic had to leave the game early, leaving the defending champions' rotation short-handed. Despite that, his teammates took a 5-point lead at the beginning of the decisive period. But the Black and White's defense held their opponents to just 9 points in the last 10 minutes, and with a 9-0 run retook the lead, which they held on to until the final buzzer. But it's a rivalry game after all, and there was drama until the very end. Crvena Zvezda got within just 1, but Partizan responded with a 7-0 run, ending with a dagger 3 by the home team's hero Will Hatcher. American point guard scored 18 of his 20 points in the second half and was the leading scorer, followed by Birčević, who added 16 points and 9 rebounds. Team captain Novica Veličković and Ratkovica scored 11 apiece in an important win for Partizan. Crvena Zvezda's players seemed worn out by a tough game they played just 48 hours earlier against Efes in EuroLeague and couldn't make their shots consistently. Luka Mitrovic was the top scorer with 14 points, but had only 2 in the second half. Bjelica scored 3 less, while Jenkins stopped at 10. Like 2 seasons ago, Aleksandar Džikić managed to end a fantastic run by Crvena Zvezda, then as a head coach of Krka, and now at the helm of ABA League's most decorated team.
Mislim da su svi imali priliku da
This was an opportunity for all of us to see a truly competitive game. Both teams played very close to what is their 100% at this point.
I obe ekipe koje onako daju verovatno vrlo blizu od onoga što mogu da najviše daju.
I'm not talking about the quality. I'm talking about the desire, their fighting spirit, their courage.
O borbenosti, o hrabrosti. Jest velika.
Yes, this was a big triumph. Derby is an important game.
U smislu da derbi je važan. Ali
But how long is there to go? 5 more rounds? If we want to do the things we talked about in the locker room, we can't slip in any of the final rounds.
Ne smemo da pravimo gluposti u ovih zadnjih 5 kola.
From the very beginning, it was evident that Partizan played with more energy. That was quite obvious.
Odmah to na startu meča bilo prilično evidentno.
Our focus level was way below what was necessary to match their intensity for longer periods of time, and that is necessary to win.
Moglo da se igra kvalitetno u dužim intervalima, što je naravno potrebno da bi moglo da se dobije meč.
Our defense was below par. We made a lot of mistakes, and our opponent capitalized on them. We weren't focused, not only in that department, but in others as well.
Je protivnik koristio dekoncentracije ne samo u...
At one point during the second part of the game, we had a lead which might have been controlled and used to force overtime. But at the end, during the final quarter, Partizan was a better team and took the win.
Iskontroliše i da dođemo možda do drugačijeg nastavka nakon toga, međutim Partizan je u završnici u zadnjoj četvrtini odigrao bolje od nas i došao do pobjede.
Buducnost is on the verge of clinching a playoff spot with a win over Cibona in Dražen's home, 94-87. The team from Podgorica is still in the fight for the second place at the end of the regular part of the season. Cibona's coach Damir Mula-Omerovic watched the game from the stands due to a suspension he received in the previous round. His assistant Ivica Buric led the team that sorely missed Nik Slavica, while Buducnost was without Boris Savovic in Zagreb. It was a high-scoring affair in the first period. Marcus Williams had a great connection with his big men Klasen and Ilic. On the other end, Cibona's point guard Scotty Reynolds had a show of his own, toying with rivals' defense. Montenegrin champions scored 30 points in the first period and had a 5-point lead. For the better part of the second period, it was an evenly fought game. Buducnost held on to the lead with tooth and nails. But Žorić backed up Reynolds to tie the game at halftime, 46-46. Žorić and Reynolds combined to score 32 points in the first half alone. In the decisive third period, Buducnost amped up on defense and allowed only 9 points while scoring 29 and entered the fourth quarter with a 20-point lead, 78-58. Cibona never gave up and slowly melted the visiting team's lead, and 2 minutes before the end of the game got within 6. But Cibona didn't have enough left in the tank to complete a comeback and took a fourth consecutive loss, pretty much losing all chances to reach the playoffs. Suad Šehović and Bojan Subotic scored 17 points apiece in Buducnost's 15th win this season, with a notable contribution by Aleksa Ilic, who scored 14 points without missing a shot. Žorić and Reynolds scored 17 points each for Cibona. Cedevita came up with an important win in an effort to enter the playoffs from the second place. In Topolica Hall, Mornar was defeated 79-74, so Georgi Pavicevic's team will have to fight to reach the safe harbor and a place in the league next season against teams in the same position. Visitors from Zagreb were in the lead throughout the game, and the very beginning showed us how the game will develop. Home team struggled on offense, and their turnovers allowed the visitors to grab a 21-7 lead. Mornar managed to cut that deficit in half by the end of the first period, but the second one was once again dominated by Cedevita. Ryan Boatwright scored 15 of his 19 points in the first half and gave his team a 19-point lead. Champions of Croatia managed to hold on to the double-digit lead at the halftime break, but this game still held some excitement. With aggressive defense, team from Bar managed to force turnovers and early in the third, cut the deficit to a single digit. Home team had their chances for a complete comeback, but those were wasted with poor shot selection. They went 5 for 28 for 3 points, and what was sorely missed were points from Tatum and Waller, who did score 13 but took 16 shots. Ellis led the scoring list with 18 points for the defeated team, while Mugosha scored 2 points less. With Babic sidelined, Boatwright had a helping hand in Arapovic and James with 12 points apiece, while Žganec added 10 for Cedevita. In a matchup of teams fighting for survival, Megalex will breathe a bit easier with a win over Krka 82-73. Coach Dejan Milojevic's team returned the favor to Krka after a bitter loss at home in Sremska Mitrovica earlier this season. League's youngest team started off hot with Spasojevic leading the way to a double-digit lead. Home team couldn't find their offensive rhythm. Kari and Cebula took tough shots, while Mega scored some easy points from transition. Visitors started the second period with 26-16 lead that continued to grow all the way to 17 points at the end of the first half. In the third period, Kostya Mushiri woke up, made a couple of threes, and with 11 points in a row, led Mega to a game-high 20-point lead. Krka responded with a 13-3 run to enter the fourth quarter 10 points behind, 65-55. The game was over when Mega scored 10 unanswered points to take the wind out of their opponents' wings, and even took a tiebreaker in case both teams end up with the same record. Mega and Krka are both at 7 and 14. Spasojevic was the leading scorer for Mega with 14 points, while Kaba and Mushiri added 13 points each. Marko Lukovic had 17 points for Krka, but went 7 for 18 from the field and missed 6 free throws. In a very dramatic game that was very important for both teams, Karpos beat FNP 88-81 after overtime. Coach Dragan Nikolić's team improved the win streak at home to 8 games and 4 overall, despite losing a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. Dragan Labovic led the home team to an early 10-1 lead, prompting the coach of the visiting team, Branko Maksimovic, to call for a timeout. It didn't help FNP much as Karpos ended the first period with a 26-16 lead, made 5 out of 7 shots for 2 and 4 out of 8 for 3 points. In the second period, they couldn't keep the same offensive rhythm, which was mostly due to injury of Zoran Vrkic, who will miss the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. Another Croatian player in the ranks of the Macedonian team, Dominik Mavra, picked up the slack with 10 points to give his team a solid 40-32 lead at the end of the first half. FNP's point guard Filip Čović shook off the pressure from the rivals' defense in the second half. Austin and Bolden exploded on offense, but Karpos held on to a 13-point lead at the very end of the third period. When everyone thought that the home team will cruise to another victory, Žižić sparked a comeback by the visiting team, completed a 14-0 run for a 69-67 lead. Response came from Kendrick Perry, who scored from the free throw line right after a three-pointer from Lazarevic. After Davidovac made 1 out of 2 free throws, American point guard found enough daylight among 3 FNP players and sunk a tough shot to send the game into overtime. FNP was so shell-shocked that it ended up losing by a greater margin than they won at home in Železnik. Most valuable player in Karpos' 9th victory was the round's top scorer, Dragan Labovic, who dropped 21 points on his former team and added 8 rebounds and 6 steals. At the end, FNP couldn't overcome 17 turnovers and 11 missed free throws to avoid their 13th loss this season, despite 17 points from Filip Čović. It took one of their best performances this season, but MZT players managed to trash Olimpija in Ljubljana 91-82 and distance themselves from the bottom of the table. Ante Nazur, the visiting team's coach, couldn't count on his best point guard, Shalom Clough, but Devon Van Ostrom shined in his absence. The British-Dutch player orchestrated MZT's offense to perfection, taking it upon himself to give the visiting team a solid lead. It ended up at 4 by the end of the first quarter, with low percentages on both sides for 2, and Olympia struggling mightily on offense. Both teams were far more efficient in the second quarter. Jefferson spiced up the attack for the hosts, but thanks to Josh Scott and a barrage of three-pointers, MZT was suddenly up by 9, 42-33 at the halftime. Coach Kasper Okon's Olympia finally found some rhythm on offense in the third and got within 4. However, like so many times this season, they completely fell apart in the final minutes, allowing MZT to go on a 21-5 run. With a second consecutive loss inevitable, all they could do is soften the blow in garbage time. Drenovac scored 17 points for MZT, Thames added 16, and Scott and Van Ostrom 15 apiece. Jefferson was once again Olympia's top scorer with 16 points. Zadar suffered a bitter last-second defeat against Igokea in Laktashi 78-77. Both teams were trying to put an end to their recent struggles, but Zadar left the court with plenty regrets, despite showing signs of improvement with the arrival of new head coach Aramis Naglic. Igokea started the game on a higher note, and thanks to Mitrovic, Robinson and Milosevic, the halftime score was 42-34 in favor of the home team. Both teams went on a few scoring runs in the third. At one point, the hosts had a 13-point lead, but then Zadar answered with 8 straight points. Igokea held on to the lead with 3-pointers and offensive rebounds. Georgi Milosevic stood out in this part of the game as he fueled a scoring run that gave his team a 7-point lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But Zadar wasn't going to give up yet. Christian Krajina scored 9 points in a row and reduced the deficit to 70-69. A very dramatic finish ensued, and Zadar would regret all those missed free throws. They had 5 possessions to take the lead, but were unable to capitalize. Marinkovic and Barac made 1 free throw each, and the score was 77-75. Albijanic missed both free throws on the other end and gave Zadar an opportunity to tie the game. Perzoja delivered with 0.6 seconds to spare. It seemed that the game was destined to go into overtime. Robinson sent an inbound lob pass to the rim, and Vladovic was called for a controversial foul on Mahkovic. Igokea's forward made the first and deliberately missed the second free throw, enough to put an end on Igokea's losing streak at 4. With their 10th win, coach Dragan Bajic's team definitely escaped relegation. Mitrovic had a team-high 19 points, followed by Robinson's 18 and Milosevic's 15. The leading scorers for the losing side were Marinkovic and Barac with 14 points each. This was Zadar's 6th defeat in a row that left the team in sole possession of the last place, as the only team that failed to win more than 6 games this season. The most valuable player of this round is Karpos Sokoli's center Dragan Labovic. In only 32 minutes against his former team FNP, he scored 21 points and added 8 rebounds and 6 steals. Enough for an index value rating of 32, one less than Octavius Ellis. However, his Mornar was defeated by Cedevita, and Labovic grabbed the MVP of the round honors. We start our top 5 review in Laktashi with Ivan Marinkovic's incredible dunk against Igokea. Vanja Marinkovic made his way to number 4 spot on our list with this great 3-pointer in transition. At number 3, Kendrick Perry with a buzzer beater to tie the game in Skopje. An alley-oop from Marcus Williams to Ilić for second place. And what would our list be without Octavius Ellis? Mornar's big man rising to the top with another massive dunk. That will be all for this edition of ABBA Magazine. We will be back next week with highlights from the 22nd round, so stay tuned.